Hey y'all, welcome back. If you don't know me, I'm TK, and this channel is all about doing some makeup, doing a little cooking once in a while, and having a lot of fun. And if that sounds like a good time to you, then go ahead and hit the subscribe button and make sure that your notifications are turned on. So even though my channel is all about having a little bit of fun, tonight we're not going to talk about that. I did do a makeup look. If you like this look, you can check it out on Instagram. So tonight I wanted to talk about something else that I really think is important. I think this is an important video for influencers and brands to learn from. So you might say, well, who are you to have anything to teach a brand or have anything to teach an influencer? What do you know? You just do makeup. Well, clearly I don't do makeup that well. So if you've been here, you know that. And but my professional background is in marketing, and I have been working in marketing since 1994. Um, I worked for some very large companies, worldwide companies. I've worked in direct marketing, which is where I work now. I work in direct marketing and data analysis. I'm actually a programmer for a direct marketing company. But I work with making marketing plans and designing campaigns for clients directly. And very large clients. The company that I work for has quite a few very, very large clients that you would know, except I'm not allowed to say that. I'm not allowed to say who they are. Also, I've worked in market research and database development for Nielsen, okay? And that was where I started. And I learned a lot about marketing, demographics, psychographics, life stage, lifestyle. I learned a lot about targeting from that job. And then as I got into direct, I was able to take that information and apply it more in helping clients develop their direct marketing campaigns. So I know a little bit about marketing. I know a little bit about brands. Actually, I know a lot about brands. I know a lot about how the relationships and the product development work with between the brand and the vendor. I know about design. I know about packaging design. And actually, the company that I work for now does a lot of packaging for some very large clients. And again, I won't say who they are. But yeah, so that's what qualifies me to talk about this tonight. So tonight's video is going to be about toxic fandoms and how they can sink a brand and how they can sink a product. We're going to use the recent drama of Rare Beauty as a case study, and we're going to talk about that. So I'm going to give you a few qualifications right now. Number one, I think my personal opinion is that this was a well-designed, well-planned, and well-executed campaign. The launch went very well. The brand did a lot of the right things. They were not so rooted in old-fashioned marketing tactics that they didn't see the value of influencers. Especially in beauty, I think influencers are really important in terms of marketing. But I bet they didn't expect to have to do so much PR. So, and by PR, I mean public relations. I'm not talking about the packages they sent out. I'm talking about literal public relations, having to get on Twitter, having to get on Instagram, and do the things they did and say the things they did. That's all because of that part of Selena's fandom that is toxic and decided to sully this launch. If you want to hear a little bit more about how that affects a brand and a launch, then stick around. We'll be right back.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, they don't know me like they think they know me.
Hi, Editing TK here. I wanted to just pop in here and give you an example of how something just gets said and then gets perpetuated as truth, as a rumor. And that's going to come into play a little bit later in this video. You probably already know when, but I wanted to tell you now. I got messaged in the comment section, or added in the comment section of a video uh, where they were reviewing Rare, and um, the person said, "Oh, well, Selena told Nikki Tutorials, you better be nice to me, or my fans will come for you." And I'm like, I'm sure I saw that video. I don't remember that. I went back, watched the video. I've watched the video 3 times now. It doesn't. I don't see it. If you see it, let me know. But I don't see it. And I just think to myself, I think she's smarter than that. I think that the that would be a really over the top way of sabotaging your own dang brand, is to encourage your toxic fans. So, and just want to say also, I'm not a fan of Selena. I don't dislike her music. I don't know anything about her. All I know is what I've read in the last uh, few days, just researching for this video, and I that's all I know. So I don't have any, I don't have any bias one way or the other where she's concerned. I can just look at this from a marketer standpoint and go, gee, I think she's done a really good job with this launch. Um, but this is the way that things, somebody just said that and somebody else perpetuated it, and they just kept going and going and going until it ended up in that comment section. And so it just, to me, I did try to track it down. I couldn't find anything. It just seemed so opposite to how she handled the Hailey Bieber issues. So I just don't, I don't see it. I don't see her as doing that. So I wanted to kind of just pop that in there as a really good example of how these things get started. And you'll see that a little bit later in the video. So bye for now. Um, so first things first, I don't really have any opinion on the cosmetics themselves. I don't I do have them. I don't want to spoil the surprise for my niece. I do have something, but I I don't have any opinion on how the I don't have any opinion on how the products actually function because I don't own any of them. I do want to purchase the foundation. Meant to stop at Sephora today. Wanted to get a hold of it, but beyond that, I don't really have any opinion on it. Full face tonight. If you want to know anything about how this was done or any of the products, you can find that over on Instagram. I'm not going to talk about other products with this. So let's talk about how the toxic fandom came to the forefront in this launch to begin with. So the first evidence of it was the Patrick Star review. And before you jump on it and go, oh, Patrick, that's not toxic fandom. That's just defending Selena. First of all, Selena doesn't know who the fuck you are. Second of all, yes, what people did to him was toxic. And I will explain why. Let me explain why that is. Um, so, why they picked Patrick Starr? First of all, Patrick Starr does his makeup in a drag style. Okay, so he uses more full coverage foundations to cover the blue of a beard. You've probably seen James Charles has done videos on how he color corrects. Um, and so this is a makeup for that is marketed toward women. Unfortunately, I feel like because of the because of the things that men face in using makeup, men who do use makeup, the struggles that they face, which is covering the blue of a beard and having very large pores. This brand is not theirs. Now, fine if you use it, that's great. But the brand certainly did not consider those things when they created this formulation. If everything that has been said is true, that it is a very light coverage foundation. So why would you pick Patrick Starr? Why would you pick Manny MUA? That is one of the things that as a marketer, and understanding like targets, that I didn't understand, other than they were trying to be inclusive and use male influencers. But how did you not see up front that that was gonna fail? How did you not see that they were not going to be able to get the proper coverage out of this formulation? So I feel like that was a bit of a fumble. However, it shows a lot of forward thinking, because let me tell you, there are still some very big brands out there who do not consider that influencers are important, and they do not consider that men in makeup are important. That is a whole other video that I will get into later on, about how inclusive brands exclude men. Okay. But that notwithstanding, I thought that it was brilliant of them to choose male influencers. So I watched Patrick Starr's video. I watched it several times over. Yes, he did mention his own brand while he was doing the video. If you know anything about makeup influencers, they will do a full face of one brand or a one brand review, and they will talk about other brands. If you watch a one brand review by Manny MUA and he doesn't mention using a Morphe brush, then I'm not even sure what video you're looking at. I'm not even sure it's Manny MUA. It's a very typical thing that's done in influencer advertising. And so if you're going to explore a new landscape like that, you also have to understand the landscape. So I'm not saying Rare didn't understand what they were getting into. I don't think Rare had an expectation that another brand wouldn't be talked about. So this is where I say the toxic fandom came in. The stands. And let me talk about that word for just a second. That word came from the Eminem song, okay? Stan was toxic, okay? So this whole idea of we stan a king and we stan this and we stan that, no, don't do that. Like, we're trying to make that word into something positive. It's never going to be. That's not what it is. That's not who he was. That's where the toxic fans came in. They saw Patrick Starr talking about his brand. They were so dead set on defending Selena, which is stupid, to be honest. Just know who the fuck you are. And if you act like that, she's not going to want to know who you are, right? All he said was, this basically isn't the coverage I would need. That is what a review is. A review is, the brand said XYZ, and I'm telling you, XYZ is true, or X and Y are true, or Z is true and X and Y. This is not what's happening. So to put that into context here, Patrick Starr was saying this is meant to be a light to medium coverage foundation. It is a light to medium coverage foundation. A light to medium coverage foundation doesn't work for me, but I'm verifying what the brand is telling you. I watched his review. I watched several other reviews. His review, he talked about his brand for 2 minutes and 40 seconds out of that entire video, and the biggest mention of his brand was for a palette, eyeshadow palette that Rare doesn't have. So, far as I'm concerned, fair game there. He used his brand to do a comparison to the eye pencil, which didn't suit him, but didn't say it wouldn't suit anybody else. And he gave an overall very, very favorable review. At the very end, this lip gloss is going right in my bag. Like, he gave a very, very overall favorable review. Okay, if you were watching, if you weren't focused on any little possible negative little thing that might hurt Selena, then you can see the review for what it is. The fans took it, blew it out of proportion, blew it up, and then every other influencer jumped on it to try to get views. And to be honest, community, that's bullshit. That is just like hearsay and gossip. So, to put what Patrick did in perspective, I watched 2 other brand owners review Rare. One of them flashed their product throughout the entire video. So their product was visible in the entire video the whole time. The other one neglected to even mention or use the brush, and it's quite a unique brush too. I have that brush. I have that brush under a different brand, but and it's really nice. That influencer, brand owner, neglected to even use or mention the brush that came with the PR. Instead, used their own brushes, pushed their brushes, did an entire eye look just to push their brushes in a video that they knew damn well was going to get a lot of views. And nobody called them out. And I'm not going to call them out either. But nobody said shit. Because in the beginning of those videos, they were like, I love Selena, she's wonderful, whatever, whatever. This is how the fandom makes this launch toxic. So, in light of what they did versus what Patrick Starr did, and the reviewer who flashed their product the entire time during the review actually gave the products, the Rare products, a more unfavorable review than Patrick did. So just because Patrick did it first or did it early and he said a couple of little negative things, the fandom took off. Everybody else learned from that. Everybody else said, I'm not going to do that. Selena's wonderful, blah, blah. I don't want the smoke. So they found more subtle ways to insert their products because they all knew this was going to be a video that got them a lot of views. So they're going to put their products in there. Every single one of them did it. So they just weren't called out for it because they did it more subtly. But that's not to say it was less egregious. And I don't blame them. As a marketer, I'd be like, see if you can work your product in there. And they do on other reviews. I'm doing a full face of e.l.f., but I'm going to use Morphe brushes. I'm using my own brushes. I'm using my set of brushes that I have in collab with whatever. Or e.l.f. doesn't have this, and so I'm going to use my whatever. Do you see what I'm saying? Yes, they do it all the time, but Patrick caught so much shit for it that the other ones were like, oh, I'm gonna not do that. I'm gonna not be that obvious about it. I'm still gonna do it, but I'm not gonna be that obvious. The stands came for him so badly that even Rare and Selena had to intervene. Now, already this has started to do the number one thing, well, my first point, let's put it that way, of that how stands can sink a product or sink a brand. They create negativity and drama around a product launch. So that's exactly what happened in the community if you watched it. So Patrick caught all that smoke. Then other people who reviewed the brand held back. They raved about Selena up front, hoping they wouldn't get any, that they wouldn't get bashed if they said anything the least little bit negative about the product. And so how much do you trust their reviews now? So the second thing that came out then, the second drama that started around this was somebody on Twitter said, oh, and the bottle's designed to be arthritis friendly. I was watching a review. I want to say that the first one that I watched was Raw Beauty Christie. and she didn't mention it, but people were saying, oh, people in the comments were like, oh, you should have mentioned, this is another part of toxic fandom. Oh, you should have mentioned this. You should have mentioned that those bottles are designed for people with arthritis. I have arthritis. Okay. I have osteoarthritis that I have had since I was 16. I am 50 something at this point, and I've had arthritis for a while. So I'm looking at the bottles, and the best that I can see on the screen that day that I'm watching, the best that I can see on the screen is that they have a ball on top. And I'm like, I know a little bit of something about physics, and the laws of physics tell me that me trying to grip that ball and turn it is going to be harder than me trying to grip a tab, a flat tab, and turn it. Which is why arthritis-friendly bottles in the drugstore, if you go and find them, they're usually aspirin bottles or ibuprofen bottles, have a flat tab on the top to turn them. And I said something in the comments, hey, how is this arthritis friendly? I have arthritis. I can't figure out how that would be easy for me to open. Does it actually snap up, or, whatever? The question I asked is, somebody came back and they said, first of all, a couple people came back and they were like, well, if you can't figure it out, do you really have arthritis? And that was really nice. I appreciated that. But somebody came back and they were like, no, you push down and turn on it. And I'm like, no, you don't. That's not arthritis friendly. And I'll tell you why that is. I've been alive long enough to know that back in the 80s, prescription bottles, and the only kind of prescription bottles you could buy were the ones that you had to push down and turn. And as arthritis, as people who represented people with disabilities started to advocate more, and like American Arthritis Association started to advocate more, the drugstores started to change those lids to where you could actually ask for an arthritis-friendly lid. And all it really is you taking the push-down lid and flipping it over, and it will screw into the prescription bottle. And so that's a lot easier to open. Not as easy as a tab top, but a lot easier to open than pushing down and turning. So I'm like, no. I said, I don't understand how that would be easy, because because prescription bottles that are not arthritis friendly are made exactly like that. You push down and turn. This is what's crazy. The fans came for Christy hard on that. They started coming for other influencers for not mentioning this thing that could not be verified. Nobody had a source on it. And so they were hating on the influencers for not mentioning something that in the end wasn't true. And I was down a rabbit hole. I've been down a rabbit hole for 3 weeks trying to research this. Like I said, I know about packaging. Understand how packaging works. So the brand never mentioned it. There's a website called Packaging of the World, and they profiled Rare Beauty on there, and they profiled their design company, Established. That's the name of the design company, Established. And Established never talked about it. Selena never talked about it in the PR or anything. Sephora has never talked about it on their website. So this absence of information for something that would be a tremendous selling point means that it wasn't intentional. And so this whole thing that this toxic part of the fandom was coming for people on wasn't even true. They wanted it to be true so badly, and they basically spoke it into existence, or rumored it into existence, and then decided to attack people for not mentioning it. That whole scenario of coming after someone because you didn't like the least little bit of what you perceived as negative about the review, because you're protecting somebody, and coming after people for for not mentioning a completely unsubstantiated claim about the product. It does the second thing that I want to mention: how toxic fandom can ruin a launch, can ruin a product, can ruin a brand. They inhibit the helpful feedback for growth. Brand comes out of the pocket perfect. None of them. Every single brand owner or brand representative that I've ever spoken to has one thing on their mind: growth. Your brand is nothing if it doesn't grow. And growth happens in many, many different ways. One of the ways is more customers, more income. That's the obvious way. The other way is better products. But if they don't get accurate feedback, if they don't get honest feedback, then they cannot grow. And what will happen is they will fall into a cycle of attrition thinking they're doing everything right when really they're falling off. Mac is a very good example of how a brand gets constant positive feedback, only looks at the positive feedback, and decides that they're doing everything right. And they've been doing that for long enough now that their brand is falling off because they have made no improvements, they have not grown, they have not tried to encourage growth. So, the whole idea of attack Patrick and now Manny, Laura, Christy. I don't think Robert Welsh was just like, you know what? It's makeup. Have a seat. Calm down. People aren't using foundation wrong. But the others, they might have thought in their head, I don't want that to happen. I'm not going to be honest. Or I'm not going to be as honest as maybe I would have been. That hurts the brand. So this is a brand that supposedly these people want to be successful. They want Selena's brand to succeed and be and sweep the world and whatever, be miraculous. I don't know. It's really odd to me to be that excited about a celebrity. But I don't know. I was pretty excited about Eric Estrada back in the day. But that said, ostensibly you'd want this brand to survive. How do you not know that your behavior is actually hurting them? So here's what we're talking about. So number one, creating drama and negative feelings around a product or brand. Number two, inhibiting helpful feedback. So the final on the arthritis thing. Now, I do understand that I believe Rare has come out and said that we didn't intentionally design that. That was not part of our intentional design. However, this is something that we will look at in the future. That's growth. That's improvement. That's what they're looking for. But they're not looking for this big rumor and people attacking people because they didn't mention a rumor in their review. They're looking for feedback. Those little balls on the top have a tendency to snap. That's feedback that the brand needs to get. But if you have people in the comments getting attacked if they say the least little negative thing, then the brand isn't going to get that feedback, is it? They're not going to have access to any of that. People are just going to shut down because that's what happens. So this is how this toxic side of the fandom, and I want to clarify, when I say toxic fandom, it is a small group of people within the fans. It's not the entire fans. And I'm not saying that Selena's fandom is toxic as a whole. But every single fandom, every single celebrity has toxic fans. Even video games have toxic fans. Video game consoles have toxic fans. It's ridiculous. So I just want to clarify that. So that's the final word on the arthritis thing. We know what happened to Patrick Star. They've had to deal with this negativity around the brand. I don't know if they knew about the rumor with the caps being safe for arthritis and let it go to make sales. That's always a mistake. I would imagine that if they hired a marketing company to pull this off, to pull something as big as this off, that they would have hired people who really know their shit and are experienced and would say, no, you don't let lies circulate about your brand, even if they are benefiting your sales. Because ultimately what happens is you look like the liar. So people start returning it and going, this is supposed to be for arthritis, good for arthritis, but I can't open it. I have trouble with it, so I don't want to use it. And so you get people returning makeup and saying, this is not what you said it was, it's really hard at that point of the return to go, we never said that. If you've allowed this to perpetuate. And so then that brings me to the third way that a toxic fandom will can bury a product or a brand, and that is they discourage future reviews. So you can launch a company and go, we're just going to sell this one product and then we're going to be out. That's called a cash grab. And there's lots of companies that do it, and you probably know some of them. Some people have accused Selena of making a cash grab with this particular endeavor. It could be. We don't know because they haven't done anything to follow up. However, when you read the things that Rare is saying, when you read the things that Establish is saying, it sounds like they are intending to move forward and continue this. If I was an influencer at this point with all the negativity around this brand, I would say I'm not going to review it. Don't bother. Don't just take me off your PR list because I'm not going to talk about it. And in advertising in 2020, in makeup, you are missing out if you are not using influencers, if you are not trying to reach that audience on social media. You're absolutely missing out. Hi, editing TK one more time. The tweet that I just put up from That's So Terrence, reading through that tweet was absolutely stomach churning. The amount of vitriol from Selena stans and the amount of homophobic and just disgusting insults, all because he said, for this very reason, I'm not going to review the brand. So it doesn't look, honestly, if I didn't know who Selena was and I don't really know that much about her, but if I didn't know who she was and if I didn't know a little bit more about her, I think I'd be inclined to just want nothing to do with her, and I probably wouldn't have anything good to say about it just based on seeing that mess. Unless you have a strong stomach, I wouldn't recommend it. But that said, Rare Beauty's also lost an influencer, and influencers have friends, and they have friends, and so on and so on. So it's a huge chance by not saying, hey, we're really not tolerating this stuff. We're really going to start seeking, honestly, in my mind, it's like, we're going to start seeking these people out, or shutting down accounts or whatever for this kind of stuff, getting people banned. I mean, I think it's almost come to that, but that's on them to decide whether or not they feel like it would hurt their brand enough. If they were far more established, probably wouldn't matter, but they're not that established, and losing that is losing these influencers like this could really hurt them on their next launch. This is exactly my number 3 point. If you lose the influencers, especially in makeup, you're going to lose audience. This is the third way that the toxic fandom can kill a product or brand. Going forward for Rare, what do you do? I think what they've done up to now is great. Selena's come out, Rare Beauty's come out, and Selena's come out, and they've been like, hey, we were fine with Patrick's review. We appreciate the feedback that we get. Show him some love. Like, whatever. I mean, he honestly didn't do anything that was abnormal. If you watch influencers' reviews of products, it is not abnormal for them to either talk about their own product during a review or talk about somebody else's product during a review. I cannot even tell you, and I'm not picking on Manny. I'm really not. But he was the first beauty influencer that I ever watched, and I've watched so many of his reviews, and every single review that I watched early on, he would say, I'm going in with a Morphe something something something. I'm going in with a Morphe something something something. I'm going in with a Morphe. If you don't have this, it's the best brush. I'm gonna tell you right now. This little joint right here, this Morphe M1's old eyes. You'll get old one day too. The M165. This is the best angle brush ever on face of the earth. I mean, even if I was doing a full-on review of somebody that Morphe competes with, Sigma or whatever, I still might go, well, I don't have an angle brush as good as this one. It's fine. It's always done. We expect it as people who regularly watch the reviews. For Selena's fans to get in those comments and freak out about that with Patrick Starr was ridiculous, and it hurt the brand. 3 ways they could sink it: creating creating a bunch of drama and negative feelings about the product, inhibiting the helpful feedback and growth that the brand is looking for through these reviews, and discouraging future reviews by influencers. So now I want to talk to the people who are one of these people who thought that they were clever with their little bitchy comments defending Selena. I'm talking to you now. First of all, neither the brand nor Selena know who you are. And you're not defending them. You're really just out here being a bitch and bringing a bunch of negativity to a brand that supposedly you want to see succeed. Brands don't succeed when their names are associated negatively. Okay? And if you want a prime example of that, Jeffree Star. I will be surprised, as a marketer, I will be surprised if he can manage to market his way out of the issues that have been associated with him and his brand. I will be surprised if he's still here in 2022. That remains to be seen, but it does take time for a brand that big to fail. Number 2, your negativity is standing in the way of the brand getting the honest information that it needs to grow and improve. It is fine for you to feel like, oh, they shouldn't mention anybody else's brand but Selena's. But you also must understand the normality of that. It is not fine for you to spread rumors, to blow something up bigger than it was. It is not fine for you to attack people. It is not fine for you to be snarky and nasty in the comments. It is not fine for you to attack other commenters when they're just trying to get information. That's a side effect. People will stop commenting and stop asking questions and just not buy the product. So if you want to see the product succeed, keep your comments decent. And if you don't like what that person had to say about a brand that you love, if you look on your phone and you look on your YouTube feed, it scrolls up and it scrolls down. And you could find somebody else who agrees with you. Because not everybody is going to like everything that you like. And that's the truth of life. Number 3, no brand, including the one that you stan, is going to be impressed by your bitchiness. If they do find out about you, your bad attitude will alienate the very person that you think you're supporting. Guaranteed, if you went up to Selena and you were like, oh, yeah, that's right, I took down Patrick Starr, I went in his comments and I just read him out for mentioning his brand rather than yours, she's going to think you're crazy. There's no way that somebody is going to be like, oh, thank you for doing that. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Nobody's going to think that's cool. Nobody thinks it's cool who isn't Selena. So she wouldn't think it's cool either. She's not going to want to be near you. And Rare Beauty is not going to want you to speak on their behalf. Trust me. No marketer wants people out there doing wacky, crazy things with their brand. They don't want their brand associated with that. There is not a brand that expects 100% positive reviews of a product unless it's something they've paid for. if they're paying for it, then the person is no longer an influencer. They are, like I said before, a spokesperson, and they are by law obligated to say so or represent themselves as such. So in TV marketing ads, you will see it down here in like 6-point prints at the bottom of the screen: paid actors, paid advertisers, paid promotion, compensated promotion, something along those lines. Because by the law in the United States, and I believe in the UK as well, you have to represent if you're being paid to say good things about a brand. And I think in the United States or the UK, if you're paid at all, you have to say something. So no brand, unless they're paying for it, expects positive reviews about everything else. If they're a smart brand, and I think Rare is smart. As a marketer, people have said, oh, I think this is just a cash grab. This is just a cash grab. Well, if it is, it's pretty brilliant. You spent a lot of money to do a cash grab. Working back and forth. It goes back and forth. You work back and forth with the vendor. They come and they go, this is what we think you like. And you go, you know what? You're like 90% there. We'd like to see this, and this change. And then they go back and they fix it and they bring it and they go, oh, that thing I said was right before? I tell you what, I want to change that now. And it goes back and forth like that until you get a sign off. You have to have somebody literally sign their name and go, this is approved. And for this many foundation shades, plus, a line of lip products, like, I don't think that you put that kind of effort and obviously money and time into a product line like this and then go, oh, we just want to make some quick money. It doesn't, to me, after having worked to help other people design marketing, far less complicated marketing campaigns, it just doesn't fit with the profile of a cash grab. So I think Rare is a very smart brand, and I think that they value that constructive criticism that the stands see as dragging. So to the stands, I'm going to say, be nice. Not everybody's going to agree with you. Not everybody's a Selena fan, but they still like makeup. If you want her brand to succeed and you want her to be successful in this market, have a seat. Calm down. It's just makeup. You don't need to, it's not helpful. You're not helping yourself. You're not helping her by dragging people to the point where the marketing company or the brand and Selena had to come out and go, no, it's fine. He did okay. We like it. We appreciate the feedback. They should have never had to do that. If you would just act like a fucking human being. And that's where I'm going to end this. I hope that you guys got something out of this. I hope that if you're a brand, maybe you were able to learn something from this. It is really, really risky to put a celebrity at the forefront of a product. It is a double-edged sword because because it's great that you make the money from the name recognition that they have. But if they do not suit your product, in other words, if it's somebody who you're doing a makeup line and you're going to put Jason Momoa out in front. Right. You see what I'm saying? So then you have problems there if they don't fit your line. And even if they do fit your line, you have to deal with the toxic fandom because every one of them has it. So, think long and hard. If you're a brand, think long and hard about doing that. And if you have any questions for me, intelligent questions, please leave everything down in the comment. Comment how you feel about this. And I hope that wherever you are, you're having a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, a great night. And I will see you in my next one.
Try to understand that I do want you as a fan. I just don't want you to do some crazy shit.